Hi, welcome to Wild Speculation, show where we talk about our theories and yours for Critical Role News Campaign. I'm Daniel.
I'm Scott.
So, we've been chit-chatting a little bit leading up to our broadcast. And so, where do we want to start this week?
Well, we left off last week talking about how they were out of spells, out of barbarians, and going into a fight with skeletons.
Yep.
And we were a little concerned about that.
Yep.
And sure enough, they opened up with a fight, and one of them fell.
Yep.
Molly took the first hit.
Yep. And that fight was good because it showed how BA Molly was.
Yeah.
Or is. And also gave Bo a chance to shine.
Yeah.
So I was pleased by that fight.
Yeah, I like that descriptive, making the pie slice out of the one zombie with the two scimitars.
Yep. Go ahead. Well, so as I was watching it and they were going about their investigation, Matt gave them two witnesses.
Yes.
Okay, he gave them two potential witnesses. Because I don't know if they were on the water the night before, because they had gotten a long rest.
Right.
But if it's their habit to be out there at night...
Well, here's the thing. Here's what my wonder is. All right, you've got these carnies. They're devoted to their bosses. Their bosses are in jail. You've got these random people hanging out with who I believe is the newest member of the Carnival, Molly, who are supposed to be arrested in running around doing stuff. Yes, they killed a couple of zombies, but if you remember the next day, we had two of our own killed. And it mentioned that they had turned to zombies, so I don't know if they do a reversion thing after they die after a while, but here's the thing. These carnies, they said, hey, don't mention we were here, we're not supposed to be here. Are those carnies going to flip and say, hey, they were there, we saw them kill the guards to get their bosses out of prison?
I don't think so. Especially because the guards also added, we're looking for two of them that fled.
True.
Because the three that are missing.
Right. Well, I assumed that the two of them that had fled, they were talking about the fiend and the dwarf girl.
I assumed they were talking about
because
the halflings and
in
the other
episode
guy.
2, they were there at the carnival because Jester and Nott questioned them. And now they're not, and there's the two dead bodies.
Yes, but they weren't the only ones to have fled after that. So. If you remember, the two halflings ran away.
Okay.
The acrobats and the other guy who was there, leaving only the second in command.
Right.
The one that not came in. It's you.
Oh. Well, 5 charisma.
Which I was thinking about that today. Whether or not Sam can play a charisma dump stat character. And I don't know if he can. Judging by the fan art, he can't.
Right?
We have our regular Sunday game. One of my players just created a charisma dump character, and he's decided to be annoying. Is how his low charisma is gonna manifest.
Yes, he has.
So yeah, after Sunday night, I was left struggling trying to imagine how he's gonna pull it off.
Well,
so.
I think the way he's doing it is with the social cues. He doesn't know when to shut up and when to stop talking. He doesn't, he's got just that kind of nervous shyness. He even says, "I'm talking too much. I've said too much, haven't I?" And Caleb's like, "Yes," and Bo's like, "No, keep talking." So I think that's the angle he's going for with the low charisma. Kind of almost a parallel but inverse of Keyleth. Not knowing the social cues, but doing too much talking instead of not enough.
Right on.
I think that's the angle he's going for with the low charisma.
Interesting.
A few things that we kind of learned. One, as they were arguing after the fight about whether, well, not really arguing, but discussing whether to follow the toad right away or get that rest in because they're out of resources.
Yep, especially after Molly went down. I think maybe if Molly hadn't have gone down, they may have pushed it.
Well, and that's the gamble of playing a low-level blood hunter when you have to sacrifice not only hit points, but maximum hit points to get your right damage.
Yeah.
And he's a dual wielding. Which means you do it twice.
Yeah.
And it's your level. So if he does both of them, he's losing 4 hit points, both current and max.
Which is essentially half his hit die, right? Because they're D8?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's...
So half a hit die of hit points to be able to do ice damage.
And that's assuming he rolled max on that hit. Well, you get maxed for the first level.
So,
yeah.
But last week I talked about how I think he's a member of the Cleric Order, and this week and the week before we saw him kind of either not knowing well or not knowing long the other members of the Carnival, just their interactions. That's kind of what led me to that belief. The other thing was in episode 2, he was looking for something. He was like, "Oh, I've got it on the tip of my tongue. I should know this. I've studied this." He says this because he got the lower roll and he couldn't remember what it was, and I don't think he could actually remember the name either.
And he at one point in the episode last week, he flat out says, "I have no idea what it is, but my character does."
Right. Is why I made that speculation that he's part of the Cleric Order.
Yeah.
Well, when they're discussing things and Jester mentions, "Oh yeah, it's a fiend," because she used her class abilities and discovered that. And it starts jogging his memory, and Liam gets the book and reads it, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, I know all of this." It just kind of, to me, reinforced my theory that now it hasn't been confirmed yet, but I think things are definitely leaning that way.
So I just thought of something.
Okay.
And this is a good lesson, actually, for GMs. If Matt did this. But I'm pretty sure he did, because he's a good GM. He gave them alternate means to find out about the fiend.
He did.
Because he put one away in front of Caleb.
Mm-hmm.
Jester has Detect Good and Evil.
Right.
And Molly's abilities.
Yes.
Which, ironically, this is where the conspiracy theorist comes into play. This only reinforces my belief that the bad guy is actually the Fae and the girl. Because if you're pointing that many characters toward the fiend, you're not seeing the sleight of hand that's coming up.
Right. And well, and they even mentioned it, they were like, what if she's evil? I don't know if she's, innocent. And I'm saying, I think Sam had it right, with the dwarf tentacle, the little light on the fish in the dark. Because if she was a captive, if she was there unwillingly, why did she start singing, and why did she try to keep singing when Bo had her?
Yeah.
She is definitely a bad guy. And that's why I think, at the end, we were talking about the milestone and where the end of the arc is.
And an important bad guy.
Yes.
Because Matt was making death saving throws for her.
Yes. But it goes to, my theory that, that she's a bad guy.
Yeah.
It goes to, actually goes to the Fae because, like we said, she could be the College of Glamour bard with the singing.
Yep.
And we do have one more session, so unless they drag their feet in this arc, because he did say probably at the end of next episode you'll hit level 3.
Yep.
At the end. Couple other things we found out. Fjord is a sailor.
Yep.
And we've also seen him use both of his invocations now.
Yep.
So we know that he has the Mask of 1,000 Faces because he mentioned it by name in
made use of it many times. Yep.
Yeah, but we know it's not the Disguise Self spell because he mentioned it by name in 2 episodes of the 3. And then because he added his charisma to damage on his
Eldritch Blast,
we know he's got the Agonizing Blast invocation.
Yep.
So we know that that's the first background. That's the only background we know at this point.
Yes. And
then we know that Caleb is a human variant.
Yes.
Because he makes
you pointed this out because I missed this.
Because he mentions, he says, Matt, is it safe to assume that with an 18 intelligence and the keen mind feat that I have taken, which the only way you can get a feat at level 2 is if you're the variant human.
Yep.
Unless he gave everybody a feat.
Which we haven't seen evidence of.
Which we haven't seen any evidence of. Caleb is a variant human. So, kind of piecing together the people.
Yep.
And that's kind of going to be a thing for at least a couple arcs as we get to know them. They're still low level. Yeah. It won't be till next week, a week from Thursday, that we start to find out what paths they're taking, because literally all of them but Jester and Caleb have a choice to make when they level up.
Yeah, because Caleb made his at second level, and Jester made hers at first.
Fjord also made one at first, but as a Warlock, he gets another decision at third.
Yeah.
So.
Which, do we want to talk about that?
Yeah, let's talk about that.
I think maybe we'll go through each one and we'll start with him.
All right.
We kind of like the Pact of the Chain for Travis, mostly because everyone is going to think that he's going to take Pact of the Blade, and like you said, he's not going to do that because that's what people expect.
He's a fan. I mean,
but also the way that he reacted to Caleb's use of his familiar.
Yes, he was very interested in that. Oh, you can change it. Oh, what happens if it dies? And I love the fact that Not has eaten Frumpkin twice. And I can't wait till Travis has a familiar and Frumpkin eats it in game. Or not Frumpkin, Not, I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, either one would be hilarious.
That would be great if you got like a whole Harry Potter thing where Hermione's cat familiar was chasing Ron's rat familiar between...
or even or even Avatar: The Last Airbender when Hockey and Momo are going after each other.
Just kind of playing off that old Vax Grog rivalry with Jordan and Caleb, but this time it's through their familiars.
That would be funny. But the other option, which may be where he was going when he created the character, based on his interest in going to the university. And that is Pact of the Tome.
Yes. However, I don't think so, because I think we're going to see a multi-class
into wizard.
Yeah,
and I think that's a definite possibility.
And I think we're going to see him go War Wizard out of Xanathar's.
Again, that might be the obvious choice.
That might be the obvious choice.
But he was real taken also with what Caleb did with transmutation.
That's true. He did like that.
But I don't. I say that just to discredit.
Right. No, and that's totally fine. My assertion that he's going to go War Wizard is because, especially being a Hex Blade Warlock, you are a martial character.
That's true.
You have light and medium armor. You have martial weapons.
Yeah.
Travis is a fighter and a tactician. The War Wizard is that.
Yeah.
And when you can...
And going Wizard gets you the spell slots, so you can keep casting.
Yep.
Gives you Arcane Recovery, so it's another means of recovering your spells.
Gives you your intelligence to initiative, which he doesn't have an initiative modifier, so that's going to give him a bump on his initiative, because he does have a positive modifier on intelligence.
Yeah.
And then he can throw that reaction, oh, I've got a +2 to my AC. Oh, I'm going to get a +2 to my saves. At the cost of not casting spells above cantrip the next round, which when you have a Falchion and you have Eldritch Blast, that does
Agonizing Blast.
D10 either +4 or +6 if he's Hexblade cursed them.
Well, by the time he's multi-classing into Wizard, likely that proficiency bonus is going to be +3.
Exactly. So I can see him doing that because that gives him, it allows him to dabble in the spells that he wants to do, but it also gives him the familiarity of the combat.
Yeah, that's true.
And it also plays to the whole tactician thing that I think we're going to see a lot of Travis through Fjord as the character grows.
Yeah, I think the only other Wizard school that he might take other than War Wizard is Evocation. And so that he can cast the AoE spells and be right in the middle of it. Yeah. Because how badass is that? To be right up in the mix and just drop a fireball at your feet.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm excluding myself.
Yeah, I could see him doing that too. So, I mean, there's a few options that have good points and bad points to them. I think Evocation and War Wizard, the only real bad point to either of those is that people expect that kind of thing from Travis.
Yeah, but you make a good point that if you're going Hexblade, there are certain things that you're going to have to contend with that build.
Right.
And being in melee is one of them.
Right.
So
now, I mean, you drop a fireball on the guy that you've got your Hexblade's curse on, you're still getting your proficiency modifier added to the damage on him because it's all damage.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
He could end up going range and just be the wizard you don't want to base.
Scorching Ray would get him +6 or 9 or 12 damage a round.
Yep. So, anyway, well, let's talk about our other theory about Fjord since we figured out he was a sailor.
Yeah.
We have two different theories that we thought of when we watched the show because we didn't watch it together.
No.
But they could be the same.
Yeah.
There is an overlap there.
That's true.
You want to start with yours or should I start with
you go.
Okay. So, he's a sailor. He's got the Hexblade's curse. My whole thought, and it kind of went through my brain when they were making the seaman jokes, which Sam, when he was going to leave the party, why didn't you say, are all seamen this salty or is it just you? That's what I would have said. I expected that from you, Sam. I don't know. Maybe I'm looking into it. I thought that would have been funny. But I was thinking maybe it's going to be like a Davy Jones type of pact.
Yeah.
Where either like he was either a drowning sailor or his ship was taken over, and instead of join my crew or die, make the pact with me or die.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Whereas your theory was
I straight up came out the angle that he was dying or died, and in that his ship sank, he was sinking. And this thought came to me after we learned he was a sailor. And when Matt started describing the effects that were coming off of his falchion in that fight, as it just was producing water.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
in the barnacles, which is where I got the Davy Jones thing.
And that's where I was like, oh, this came from the bottom of the sea. Yeah. And there's really only one way to do that.
Well, there's two ways. You can drown or you can meet the Lady of the Lake and, become the King of England.
Yeah. And that was and he's been described with the scar, so I figure that's left over from that incident.
And really, that scar could fit into either of our theories, and our theories could be one and the same.
Yeah.
you know, just a little bit different perspective on it.
Yeah, and you made the comment about the connection to the Raven Queen that the Hexblades have.
Yeah.
They
kind of wrap that in the UA. They had the Raven Queen and the Hexblade as two separate things, and they kind of folded them into one for Xanathars.
Yeah. I don't know if that'll be in this campaign.
I don't either, but
it's an interesting connection.
It is, yeah.
Especially because if you wanted to have Vax guest star, that's a way to do it.
That's true. Yeah.
Speaking of potential guest stars, the other thing we realized is...
Guess who's from Wildemount?
Terry and Darrington. So, could we see the Darrington Brigade?
And here was the thought I had. Dodie 7.0. He's a full-fledged Warforged now, leading a troop of younger Darrington Brigaders through Wildemount that they run into. And then maybe taken to see an older, a 20-year older.
Ooh, what about a dark turn? And to continue his mother's life, he turned her into a Warforged.
Oh. Hey. Science bros. I thought when you said a darker turn, I thought you were going to say, Dodie becomes one of the bad guys in an arc because, he went Skynet on them.
That could also... They are not mutually exclusive. Oh, man. Mama Warforged takes on Dodie. And either he's Warforged or he's still serving as her servant. And they've gone Skynet.
So, I don't know that those things are going to happen, but it's fun to speculate. That's why we call the show Wild Speculation.
This is true.
Also in honor of the continent, Wildemount.
Yep.
All right, so anything else on Fjord before we move on?
No, I think that's it.
All right. Who do you want to tackle next?
Let's do not.
Not. Okay.
Because you have a pretty firm and well-reasoned.
I made this last week. I made this assumption last week. This is my gut. This is what I think is going to happen. I think Not is going to be an Arcane Trickster.
Yeah. Well, and his stats speak to that.
19 Dex, 16 Intelligence. Those are his two highest stats. He keeps saying, Caleb is teaching me magic.
Yep. Which is the really, really big argument.
Yeah.
From a narrative standpoint.
From a narrative standpoint, it's already worked into the backstory. If he goes Arcane Trickster. Now, you did make the comment, what if it's the long comps and he's going to multi-class wizard?
Yeah.
He could, but again, I really think...
You shut that down with, but what's the ability called? The Ledgermane?
Yeah, if he can do what he does with Bigby's hand, what's he going to do with ranged Ledgermane?
Yeah.
And he's got that sleight of hand. He can use with ranged Ledgermane. He can use Bigby's, or he can use
Mage Hand
to sleight of hand.
Yep.
Using his I mean, it'd be a little bit less because you use your casting stat. I believe.
Huh.
No, you don't. No, never mind. No,
you do.
that's I'm thinking a different spell.
So he'll have a +8 to pick someone's pocket, and even if they manage to
that's
notice,
going to go up because I'm pretty sure if he's got a +8, 19's only a +4. That means sleight of hand is one of his expertise slots.
Yes. Well, he mentioned that.
So that's going up.
I believe his two expertises, I think, her two expertises, are stealth and sleight of hand.
Okay. So, so when you can range Ledgerman and use that to pick locks from 30 feet away, pick someone's pocket from 30 feet away.
Yeah. Disarm the trap.
Disarm the trap. Steal the bauble from the bad guy while he's monologuing.
So that's an interesting question. will Matt up the trap count in the game, or will he forego them because they won't be an issue anymore?
I think they're still going to be an issue. He may be able to do something with it from 30 feet away, but he's got to find it first.
This is true.
And it doesn't allow you to find traps from 30 feet away.
That's true.
So I don't think that because he's got the... Now, it lessens them.
Yeah.
Because, oh, I see the trap. I'm going to back up off camera and try and disarm it.
Yeah.
But it does not negate them, because if he doesn't notice it and sets it off.
That's true.
So.
Yeah.
But that's my thought. Which way do you think he's going to go?
I was thinking thief. To really lean into the taking stuff.
Okay.
Because if you go the thief, that becomes a bonus action on your turn.
Right.
Um,
So we've got pick a pocket at 30 feet away or pick a pocket as a bonus action.
yeah. So yeah, but you have the much stronger argument, I think. I don't know what we can try to guess about her background. Do we want to try to venture a guess? Because I have a potential one.
Okay, go ahead.
Far traveler.
Okay. I hadn't even thought of that one. That's interesting.
She's obviously not a regular goblin.
Yeah.
She's not in a warren. And far traveler kind of makes sense from that perspective.
Yeah.
I don't remember offhand what the feature is, though.
Far traveler is position of or it's something about you can get into places where you normally wouldn't because people want to see the exotic. It allows you can get meetings with higher ups that you normally wouldn't be able to get.
Okay.
And I know this because in the Sunday game, I just had a far traveler deep gnome who got killed in the TPK because of another player's full quest to slay a unicorn while we were level 2.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't make it to level 3 before we got TPK, but
Yes.
he had that quest going from level 2.
So after not, let's see who we want to talk about next.
Let's jump to Taliesin.
Okay.
Let's do Molly.
Okay.
Molly's got one of 4 choices to take. Order of the Lycan.
An outside choice, I think, unless he wants to mess with Travis.
Unless he wants to mess with Travis, that is the only good reason.
Yeah.
I mean, because he's gonna. I mean, in his hybrid form, he would still be able to use his swords, but they rely more on natural weapons. The whole thing about them is doing the natural weapons, gaining the vulnerability to silver. You've got Order of the Mutant, which I think is also an outside choice.
Yeah, because it's too costly.
Well, it's too Percy doing the science stuff.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about it from that angle. But yeah, you're right.
That's why I'm counting it as an outside choice. Then we got the 2 that are in contention, and I have my personal pick. One of those is the Order of the Profane.
Yep.
Which is use the Warlock spells as but with wisdom.
Yeah.
Which if he wants to dabble in a little magic, which the argument for that is that it seems like all the people who weren't casters are becoming casters, and all the people who were casters are becoming non-casters.
Yeah.
For the most part. I mean, Laura had casting as a ranger and is a cleric now, but.
Yeah, ranger's a half caster though.
Yeah. But everyone who was a full caster is not, and everyone who wasn't a caster is.
Yeah.
So there's that argument. And then there's the one that I think is going to be because of my theory about the Cleric Order, and that's the Ghost Slayer. It gives him the radiant damage. It's kind of described as the base Blood Hunter. It's like the first of the orders.
Yeah. The eldest.
But it also allows him to use the Blood Maledict on things that don't have blood. So incorporeal constructs, oozes.
Yeah.
It gives him a wider berth with the Blood Maledict.
Yeah.
And I think he's just going to go classic Cleric Order Monster Slayer and be the Order of the Ghost Slayer.
Yeah. Yeah, with your argument, I think you're probably going to be right. But I also like the idea of it's not so outside that he is going to do the spell casting.
No, it's not. I can see him doing that, but...
Especially because I get the feeling, and my understanding is that he plays spellcasters a lot.
Okay.
Elsewhere.
Gotcha.
But in fact, I think his first character
was a paladin.
That's right.
He was a paladin. He was a Dragonborn paladin.
Yeah, and then Orion came in with the Dragonborn sorcerer, and he was like,
yeah. And when they decided to make it a campaign, he stepped that guy out because you had the Dragonborn sorcerer and you had the cleric, and he felt he was just stepping on too many toes, overlapping. So he went with the human gunslinger.
Yeah. So yeah. Can we talk about Yasha? Having seen her
for one episode?
Yeah.
Well, it's called Wild Speculations for a reason. Let's speculate.
All right.
And I think we're on the same page. I think we have the same idea.
Do we?
Because I think we talked about it a little bit. Order of the Ancestors? Or Path of the Ancestors?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think she's going to go Path of the Ancestors, and I think it's going to play into her angelic guide she gets as an Samar.
Yeah, which is what I'm really looking forward to. I hope when she comes back in her next episode, that comes into play.
I do too. And since if she's not there next week, she will be level 3.
Yep, and we'll get to know definitively what kind of Samar she is.
I am still holding out hope that she is the protector that gets the flight speed. And she has found a way to overcome Grog's one weakness in not being able to fly. And I just can't wait. I cannot wait to see her have the bad guy floating up above them.
Thinking he can get away from the barbarian.
She rages and just shoots up in the air with the wings.
Yep. It's going to be so good.
So, although she won't be able to do all that in one round because it's a bonus action to rage, it's a bonus action to pop your wings.
Yeah. Well, I think she'll start the fight off.
Raging.
First turn, rage.
And then when he leaves because she's raging, she'll pop the wings and go after him with the rage. Yeah.
Yep. And the Ancestor, Path of the Ancestor, is the main barbarian line that gives them a narrative reason to do the astral
projection for when,
if
they even go that route, they could just be like, she's there, she decides to take off.
Yeah.
But another thing is for me, for why I thought the Ancestor, I mean, you were the one that brought up the reasoning of the angelic guide and working all that in, and the astral projection. My thought was the Path of the Ancestor is really about protection and protecting others. And that's kind of how she presented herself. She was the guard. She was protecting the carnival. She went with Molly as he was going around to protect him while he was out and about.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I was thinking. It's the most protective.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah, for sure.
Any others that you can see her doing? She's too calm and collected to be the frenzy.
I don't think she'll do frenzy, and also because Grog did frenzy.
Right.
Totem, maybe? Just because totem is largely the default for a lot of people. If you go into forums and stuff and start talking about barbarian builds, everyone's like, oh, you gotta go totem.
Well, and a lot of that is because
The bear totem.
well, that and when it was just the player's handbook, a lot of people felt that the totem was so much more powerful than the frenzy that there was no reason.
Yeah.
I don't know that I agree with that, but that was the common sentiment.
Yeah. Could she do storm? Maybe.
That's the other one I was kind of thinking.
Yeah. I don't see her doing zealot.
I don't see her doing zealot.
So yeah, I mean, it's by process of elimination. It's basically top is Ancestor, and then maybe tied is Totem and Storm.
Yeah. Because I can just see, I mean, she kind of, in the description, she's kind of got that gloomy storm cloud type of personality.
Yeah.
And I can see her playing into that and, the lightning damage and going that route.
That's true.
Especially when she's flying just over you and just,
Do we want to speculate about a background? Of all the characters, we have the least information on her.
This is true.
But I have a wild guess for her as well.
Okay. Let me go ahead and give yours. I haven't really thought about background. I haven't done too much thinking on backgrounds yet.
Outlander.
Okay, that would only two reasons why I think that could be wrong.
Okay.
Okay. One, I think Outlander is a good possibility because that explains how she can just take off and go and come back. The two Devil's Advocate reasons for that. One, Grog was an Outlander.
Was he?
I believe so.
Huh.
Or at least that's kind of because
I thought he was an artisan because
that's the default tribal thing. So I thought he was an Outlander. But two, that's also the stereotypical barbarian Outlander.
Yeah. Outlander, barbarian, and ranger, and occasionally druid.
Yeah.
Although hermit is usually what druids take.
Yeah. As far as other backgrounds, there's not really any other good ones. I mean, if she had a part in the show, I would have said entertainer, but she didn't.
Yeah.
She could be mercenary vet.
Yeah. So, the one that I think everybody and their mother is debating, Beauregard.
Good old Beau.
And I think there's two options. Two likely options that we're going to see.
I agree. And I already know which one you're going to say.
Yep, and that is the Way of the Cobalt Soul.
Which is the Tal'Dorei specific.
Yep.
Which she dresses in the colors.
Yep. Well, and she flat out said, I don't know I can't remember if it was on the episode or on Talks, that there is a reason she wears blue.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, well then, yeah. But she could have the background that deals with the Cobalt Reserve. That could be her background.
Yeah.
And the other one that most people are putting money on is Drunken
Master, which is my thought.
Yeah.
She's just playing into it already in the role play.
Yeah.
And I think maybe she's going to do the background involving the Cobalt Reserve, because what I think happened is whatever happened in her backstory, she was probably working with them. Whatever tragedy that she's not talking about happened.
She was expelled.
Well, I don't know that she was expelled. She may have just left. But that's what started her drinking habit.
See, I would have placed it as that's why the calamity happened.
Okay. And it could be either.
But yeah.
You know, calamity causes the drinking causes more calamity. Which came first, the chicken or the egg?
Yeah. Yeah. So we had the boss fight because they did manage to squeeze an arrest.
They managed to squeeze in a long rest, which I think that fight with the zombies made them realize we're second level again, guys, because they kept chanting level 2.
Which, ironically, every time they chanted that, it had nothing to do with being level 2.
Right. Well,
because there was the low dice rolls.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you don't have the proficiency bonus to pad that, but by and large, the dice are the dice. I mean,
and a couple of times Liam started that chant, and he's used to being able to just take a 10 if he rolls below it, plus all his modifiers.
Yeah.
And having the lucky feat, so he's been going a while without having to deal with a low roll and low modifiers.
That's very true. Half the last campaign almost, because that's level 10 rogue.
Yep. And they made it to level 20.
Yeah. Well, he was 15 before he multi-class, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. So, my reaction when that fight was going, I was a little shocked that it summoned imps. I was like, that's a little unfair. If this is a boss fight and it already has one potential minion with the girl, I didn't know what her powers were going to be. I was expecting potentially more from her rather than sing and impose disadvantage. But that's a huge deal, imposing disadvantage.
That's a huge deal, especially at level 2.
Yeah.
I also think Matt expected her to be taken out quickly.
Yeah. And if I'm going to side seat drive for a while for Beauregard, round 1.
Yeah. Should have elbowed the face. Knocked her in the temple.
Round 3, I think, is when she finally did that.
Yeah. Although...
And then she was out of position, which was the other...
In her defense, I think she doesn't want to go 2 campaigns as the child killer. But at the same time, even before he said he summons imps, I knew he was going to do that. Because he says, sing for us, to the girl. And they were the only 2 there besides. So you knew there was, either he was summoning something or something else was there. You knew there was going to be more than just him. At that second, I was like, oh crap, there's something they don't know about that's going to attack.
Yeah. Well, and on later reflection, I was like, well, if he hadn't had done that, the action economy of the encounter would have been all wrong.
Right.
It would have been way in their favor, and they probably would have rolled him.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I don't know about rolled. We did see 2 people go down in that fight.
From the imps.
That's
Mostly
true.
from the imps.
That is true. As Liam said, Caleb got the full wizard experience. Going down.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
God.
And Laura needs to remember that she can cast from her duplicate. Because her duplicate was actually in position to have gotten to Caleb to cast Cure Wounds on him.
It's true.
And I think, hopefully, she does that more. Because while it's nice to be able to confuse the enemy about, is that me, is it not me? Being able to cast from that is huge.
Another thing we learned about the characters, sorry, this just reminded me when we were speaking about Jester and I was thinking about the fight. Mollymock uses Vicious Mockery and not Thaumaturgy.
Yes.
He is the Silver-Tongued variant from the Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide of Tiefling.
Yeah, that was fun to see.
And they even mentioned variant Tiefling.
Yep.
So we have 2 distinct...
Sam's reaction to that was great. Are you a bard?
Right? Are you a bard? Variant Tiefling. So that's why they have the different cantrip that they can use. things. And at the end of the next episode, if things are on track, they'll each get another spell. Because it's first, third, and fifth that your racial spells go up for 2 points.
Yeah, and it's
Charm Person
I was gonna say
and
Charm
Darkness, I believe.
Yeah.
So
that'll be interesting.
Which, speaking of speculation, Mollymock, I think he might be entertained because of the con artistry, the cards. I know I said he probably isn't.
Charlatan,
yeah.
Charlatan is where my money is on him.
Yeah.
And Charlatan also gives him
the disguise kit that he was using.
Yeah. And also a way to have been drafted into the Cleric Orders.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So, what did you think of that fight?
It was a good fight. Interesting mechanics. I like that it reinforced my theory that the Fae were involved. I liked seeing the suite of abilities from Ford.
Yes.
I think of everyone, he really put his powers on display.
Yes.
In that fight.
And
whereas Molly did his with the zombies.
Right. Well, we're 3 episodes in, and I don't think we've seen Fjord cast a spell yet. An actual spell.
No, he cast Hex in the first fight.
Did he cast Hex, or was that his Hexblade's curse? That was our discussion last. That was our discussion last time. So we may have not even seen him unleash. I mean, it's very plausible that he did take Hex because they do stack.
Yeah.
You can Hexblade's curse as a bonus action, Hex as an action, and then they're set up to take a fall when you attack him the next round.
Yeah.
But
that's true. He's been a little light on his spell choice.
I mean, we've seen him use cantrips, but we haven't seen him cast a leveled spell yet.
Yeah. And
unless we saw Hex.
We've only seen Caleb cast 2 spells. Chromatic Orb and Disguise Self.
And Dancing Lights and Alarm.
Well, Dancing Lights is cantrip.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
I'm thinking first level and above.
Yeah. Which he'd only have 3 at this point.
6.
6? Oh, you're right.
No, he'd have 8. He has 8. He has 8 spells in his
spell. Yeah, because you start with 6, you can get 2. Yeah.
And he can prepare his intelligence plus 3 or 4.
He's an 18.
So he can prepare 6 spells. He can prepare 6 of those 8.
And he has Detect Magic. He casts that ritually going into the shop. When they left the shop, the bookshop the first time, he turned around, ritually cast Detect Magic. So we know 4. We know half of his spells.
Yeah. And Jester is going to be a wild card just because she can retrain her spells on a long rest. So
yes,
she can.
Yeah,
have
she's a cleric,
she wants.
so she can have whatever she feels she needs.
Yeah.
Remember that, Laura. Hunter's Mark all over again.
I loved her comment. What do you mean I'm the cleric?
Yeah, the cleric? I didn't know I was going to be traveling with people who died.
It's a good one. But yeah, the fact that he dropped 2 of them in that fight was also a reminder to them that, hey, it gets real.
Yeah. The other thing, did you notice after that fight, when Laura wanted to use the healing kit that Bo gave her, Matt said, hey, it's only used to stabilize. There's a feat. And she's like, oh. Her eyes got wide, and she's like, oh, okay. So she may take the healer feat.
Yep.
Maybe not.
Well, I think she will.
Yeah?
Yes. And here's why.
Okay.
I don't think she likes the idea of being the healer in combat. And the healer feat is pretty much an outside of combat thing. It's a after combat you can. This is when you do it. You can do it in combat, and well.
But here's the thing: judging by just the way she did it, I don't think she has medicine trained. It's a medicine check.
Yeah.
But the other side of that is it's always a DC 10.
Yeah.
And it is wisdom based.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
So we'll see.
It'll be interesting. So.
Another interesting thing that I noticed when reviewing things. Outside of the Barbarian, Jester is the strongest character. She has a 16 strength.
Yeah.
She's only shy by 1 from the Barbarian.
Let's see, has she... Did she hit anyone in that first fight? In the tent? I don't think she did.
I don't think she did.
And I don't think she hit anyone. She didn't hit the monster in this fight either.
No.
She's
I know she used the Sacred Flame, but they made the save.
Yeah, but she had to do that because she was at range.
Right.
But like, it's interesting. And she has one of the highest ACs.
Yeah. She's got the highest AC tied with Bo. They both have a 17.
Yeah.
Because she even mentioned she's got a shield.
Yeah. The tankiest tanky cleric. So much fun.
It's all about sneaking around and doing shit on the slot.
We're running out of time.
We want to watch Talks.
We do want to watch Talks. Yeah, we have just a few minutes left. Do we want to speculate as to what's going to happen next episode?
I think we're going to see the role play. We're going to see them actually go before the lawgiver.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I think it's 50-50 whether or not the sneaking out's going to bite him in the ass or not.
I think that might come down to a Star Trek Captain Kirk court-martial. Where, yeah, you did bad, but you also did good. Although they said that their story was going to be that Caleb did it all on his own.
That's true. They did mention that, and that was Molly's idea.
Yeah.
Because everyone else was like, wait, why? She's like, and only one person was here. They're like, wait, what? That guy. Wait, why? Because the rest of us are arrested.
Yeah. Is the Ringmaster the ringleader? Is the other question. And
again,
I lean toward yes.
You lean towards yes. I'm directly in the middle. I'm not leaning either way. I think it's 50-50. Either you're right. He's the Pact of the Fae, the Archfey. He's the bad guy. Or Fiend. Maybe he's Pact of the Fiend.
I'm leaning toward Fiend for him.
Or the circus becomes this campaign's Dr. Dransel.
Yeah, that's possible.
He could also be part of the Golden Grin.
If anyone is, I think it's the woman, the second in charge.
Yeah. Well, it could be that he's the bad guy. They have to take him down for their fight this week. She takes over the circus, and and she's the Dr. Dransel.
Yeah.
Or none of that could happen, and the circus just disbands.
Yeah, which
or any combination that you want to throw in there.
I think it's likely that the circus is going to disband.
I know you had mentioned that was your theory, and that's when I brought up mine about the Dr. Dransel of the campaign.
Yeah. And mostly I think it's for convenience that would happen. And And also, it gives a potential hook later for them to meet this broken group to bring them back together.
True.
Or for one of them to come back and say, hey, we sort of separated, but this one's gone missing. We need your help.
Or for Sam's next character to be connected when the goblin dies.
Which,
that
I was sure that she was going to die quickly. But the way he's playing her, she may outlive them all.
And it's a popular theory, oh, she's a goblin, she's going to die early. I never really saw that happening. To be honest, it's fun to joke about. I don't see it happening.
Yeah.
She's called not the brave for nothing.
That's true.
Because her ass is hiding and staying away from the danger. I don't think it's this person is the brave one. I think she's not the brave.
So it's like Sir Duncan the Tall?
Yeah.
Or, well, he was actually the Tall. He was actually tall. Or like Tiny, who's huge.
Yeah.
It's an ironic name. I can see that.
Or
it's a tragic nickname. And she is the brave because she's the only survivor of her warren.
Yeah. So, several different ways. I think it's not the brave for a reason.
Yeah. What we got? A few more minutes. Anything else we want? Well, so that's an interesting. You brought up that they could be a fight next episode, and I hadn't considered that. I figured it was going to be virtually all role play. Do they have to fight their way out, do you think?
No. I think if there's going to be a fight, it's because you're right. The ringleader is the bad guy. They discover this, and they stop him and confront him.
Do they do this after they try to get him off, though?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they find out after. I think we're going to go through the whole role play of the court, at least all the way up to the break.
Right on.
Everyone's free. Everyone's absolved. The Fiend did it. The Carnival is banned from town because they brought the Fiend.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Not an unjust decision. The Ringmaster slips, says something, which tips them off. They confront him. He shows his true colors. Boss fight number 2 to end the arc.
Yeah.
If there's going to be a fight, that's how I see it going down.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I guess that's it for us tonight. We'll see you over in the Talks Machnia chat, probably. And we'll see you next week, where we will discuss again what happens on Thursday. See ya.